Yo, BJ, very basic. Biblio, share screen. Let's do this thing. Let's go for it. We'll go to Bible Hub. Let's type us in a scripture passage. See what we find. There we go. Proverbs. We're not anti-verb. We're proverb. Proverbs. 17. We'll go 23, 5. Let's see. All right. Proverbs 23, 5. We got NIV, the NLT, the ESV, the BSB, the KJB, the new NKJ, got NASB, got all these translations, NESB 95, NESB 97, Legacy Standard, AMP, Christian Standard. Look at all. Okay. Let's choose one. NESB 95. When you set your eyes on it, it is gone. For wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies toward the heavens. NASB, when you set your eyes on it, it is gone. For wealth certainly makes its wings like an eagle that flies toward the heavens. You see in the New King James, you got riches and you got towards, they're in italics. The New American Standard, wealth and toward, riches, same as wealth. Okay, something's wrong here. Something's going, what? Oh man, something happened to my, all right. Wealth, yeah. Okay, something's happened to me. Wealth and riches are the same, right? They're in italics because they're not actually in the original Hebrew. The Hebrew is being provided. The English word is being provided. It'd be like if I said, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna go to the park today before I come home." My brother came over, said, "Hey, mom, where's BJ at?" My mom said, "BJ said he is going to drive to the park and play around before he comes home." Okay, she added some words there. She changed go to drive. Why? Because she knows me. She knows I have a car. Go to the park and play around. Why did she add that? Because she knows me. She knows what I'm doing at the park, right? So she's clarifying for my brother. Drove to the park to play around. What's some other example? Yeah. I say what's some other examples, but we're not gonna worry about it. Are there any other italics? Let's see. King James Bible. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly makes themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. So this has riches in italics. There's riches in the New King James. There's wealth in the NESB. But toward, for some reason, in the KJV, or the KJB in this case, is not in italics. That's because I'm guessing the original manuscripts that the King James used, some of them are different than the original manuscripts that the New King James or the New American Standard use. Actually, the New King James and the King James use the same manuscript. So I wonder why they got toward not in italics and they got toward in italics, the King James and New King James. I'm not sure. We could look it up, but go look it up for yourself. Yeah. There any other italics? Oh, the Amplified Bible. This is a different translation altogether. Suddenly gone. They often add words for emphasis. Right here, for wealth, it's in italics. But then if you look down, for wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies to the heavens. Up here, that flies toward the heavens. Makes itself wings like an eagle that flies to the heavens. To is a small enough word that they probably are like, well, there's no word that maybe in Hebrew flies makes itself wings like an eagle that flies the heavens. Well, they're like, well, obviously it flies to the heavens. So they put the word to. Why would you italicize that? I mean, it's just understood. It's obviously when you're translating from Hebrew to from one language to another, obviously going to understand. There's obviously going to be differences. You're obviously going to add some little words and take away some little words. The word and, the word the, you know. So you don't have to necessarily put them in italics. But a whole word, like a noun or a verb or something, at toward. Yeah. Somebody just texted me. Who is that? Oh, okay. Christian Standard Bible. Let's see. As soon as your eyes fly to it, it disappears, for it makes wings for itself and flies like an eagle to the sky. All right. If you look up here in the NASB, you're like, when you set your eyes on it is gone. For wealth, so okay, I'm guessing that it is talking about wealth. For wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle. So you could say it backwards. For wealth certainly make, or you can say it backwards. Wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies towards heaven. When you set your eyes on wealth, wealth is gone. If you look at the NASB, I'm just going to say wealth. When you set your eyes on wealth, it's gone. For it certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies towards the heavens. So I'm guessing that it, which is gone, if something flies towards heaven, it's gone. So I was talking about, so if we, this is 23:5. If we looked at 23:4, because the Proverbs are often will be one or two verses that go together, sometimes more, but often one or two. Let's see. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust in your own cleverness. We go to 23:5. Come on, Bible. Come on, computer. Cast a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. Let's go to all. Go to chapter 23. Let's hit it up in the parallel right here. Let's see what chapter 20, the chapter, not the verse. Chapter. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to look at that NASB in the middle. When you sit down with the ruler, consider what is before you. So we're going to start in verse 1. We're trying to get to verse 5. When you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider what is before you and put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for it is deceptive food. Don't desire delicacies because deceptive food. That's why I put a knife to your throat. I don't think it's literally saying put a knife. No. Just don't eat his food. It's deceptive. Huh? If you're with a ruler, his food is deceptive. The ruler's food is deceptive. When you sit down and dine with a ruler, do not desire his delicacies. Right here, his, do not desire his choice food. Okay, so don't desire. When you sit down with a ruler, consider what is before you. Consider the food that is before you. Doesn't say food in verse 1, but you can tell, put a knife to your throat. If you're a man of great appetite, appetite? What is about appetite? If you set something before me, I could have an appetite for things other than food, I guess. Do not desire his delicacies. Delicacies? I guess you can have delicacies for it is deceptive food. Okay. So he is talking about food here. Look at this. For they are deceitful meat. For their deceptive food and all the food right there. Meat. But then verse 4, we're almost to 5. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Cease from your consideration of it. So is verse 1 or verses 1 and 3 together, and then there's a break, and verse 4 starts. Now you can see that this translation has this website has these right here. Don't worry about that. If uh BibleHub.com, they have this here. I think they have that just for ease of use. Don't worry about it. It's not breaking the paragraphs or anything. If there's a paragraph break, Bible Hub will put it in like light gray or something. Okay. So between verses 3 and 4, there could be a break, but there might not be. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Now, up here, he's talking about food, but it is the food of a ruler. A ruler, generally one who's wealthy, right? And do not desire his delicacies. And then in verse 4, don't weary yourself for gain. If you sit down before a ruler and he gives you food, don't desire his delicacies. Then verse 4 and 5 talks about not wanting money. So don't want the ruler's nice food and don't want money or wealth. So maybe riches and wealth here. Today we think food, money. We think food, junk food, regular food. Oh, that's easy. We got food everywhere. I got so much food in my counter. I can like feed families for a few weeks probably. Um, Not so back in the day. In the Bible times, food was scarce unless you were a ruler. Food would have been essentially riches and wealth. Riches and wealth were not money like paper money and coins, but like cows and sheep would be riches and wealth. All over the place. Flocks and herds, flocks of sheep, herds of cow. I guess I'm not a farmer. Grain, wheat, barley, that would be considered wealth and riches. Wells that you dig for like water, land that you own, wealth and riches. Today, we just think about money. But some people say, I have all my assets. And I'm like, what do you mean by asset? And they're like, oh, everything I own. I'm like, what do you mean everything you own? My car, my TV, my furniture, my house. Oh, I have stocks and bonds in the bank. I have a I have a 401k. What is that? I don't know. I have insurance. Okay, all that stuff, you turn it into money, and then the banker guy, you say, okay, I'm gonna put all my stuff together. And they say, how much money do you have? Right. We do that today. I don't do that. I have money and then I have a bunch of stuff. Oh, I have some weird retirement fund because I was a janitor at a school. So they're like, here's a retirement fund. It sits in the bank and just gets, I don't know how it works. I don't know. But back in the day, they did kind of the same thing. Wealth would have been considered food, or I should say, good food would have been considered wealth. It's a mark of wealth. And you have a lot of food, you could then sell that for money. Let's read verses 6 and 7. See if, look at this. Verse 6. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man or desire his delicacies. Oh, there's my cat moving around. What's he doing? My cat wants delicacies. So right up here, do not desire his delicacies of a ruler. Do not desire the ruler's delicacies. Verse 5 and 6, verse 4 and 5. Don't get wealth, it goes away. Verse 6, do not eat the bread of a selfish man or desire his delicacies. So you got a ruler, then you got your own wealth, then you got wealth in general, and you got another ruler or a selfish man. Verse 7, for as he thinks within himself, so he is. He says to you, so as he thinks within himself, so he is. That's a little that's a little strange, but if we keep reading, he, the selfish man, maybe the ruler, the one who's giving you food, the one who's putting wealth before you that you should consider, maybe, I don't know. Let's keep going. Okay. For as the selfish man thinks, so he is. He says to you, eat and drink. Come on, eat up, buddy. But his heart is not with you. You ever had somebody here, take this, and they don't want you to take it, but they're like, no, take it. You're like, I can't take it. If you take it, they'll be angry. People offer stuff, and you're like, I know you don't really mean it. You know, okay. In the Middle East, in the Bible times, they would have this thing where somebody says, "Hey, come to my house," and you're like, "I can't," and chill out. And they're like, "I'm not coming to your house. I can't do that." And the other person's like, "No, please come in your house," and they're like, "No, I can't do it." It's kind of strange. There's some examples of that in the Bible. There's an example where this guy's like, "Hey, sell me your cave." "Oh, we can't sell you our cave." And he's like, "Please do it. I'll pay you whatever you want." "Well, I guess we'll sell it to you for only this much." "No, please, it's worth much more." "No, maybe we can do it for this much." They go back and forth. It's like, why do they? Today, we don't do that. Okay. Here, eat and drink, but don't do it. No, no, no. Why? His heart is not really with you. He's acting kind and nice. Does he really mean it? Now, Proverbs are general wisdom, basic wisdom. Um, this isn't hard and fast for all of life. You're not always going to go in this exact situation to a place and eat food and see wealth and think, no, I shouldn't eat it. Put a literal knife to your throat. Whenever he says, eat and drink, you assume that man's evil. No, no, no. Or that man doesn't mean that. These are general principles. I just, you go to school and the teacher says, Billy's doing really well. And I go, Billy's getting bad grades. The teacher goes, no, 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 Billy's, hey, he's fine. And, I promise. And you're like, okay, thank you, teacher. And then you go home. You don't look at the teacher and think, well, she's evil. He or she was just telling me. No, I mean, it's general principles, right? Look at this. Look at this. You will vomit up the morsel you have eaten and waste your compliments. You say, thank you, ruler. And then, blah. And the ruler's like, dude, you didn't really like my food. And you're like, um, the Bible is very picture oriented. When it wants to explain something, it explains it oftentimes in pictures. You'll vomit it up, and your compliments that you just gave the guy, that ruler, nope. The ruler's like, I know you gave some compliments, but then you vomited. It's a word picture, right? He's they're describing a kind of a humorous to us situation in order to get the wisdom across. Like I say, it's not literally a situation that you might find yourself in and have to go by these exact guidelines. General information. You could see that in verse 9 where I've noticed already. And then verse 10, it switches from food and wealth. There's like wealth thrown right in the middle of this food thing. So it might be verses 1 through 3 are separate, verses 4 and 5 are separate, verses 6, 7, and 8 are separate. It might be, but it could be all the same. And in fact, if you look at the basic guidelines it's teaching you, you can see that it's all the same. If you look at verse 9, the base you can get basic wisdom out of all of them. Don't desire stuff that don't desire food from a ruler because he really doesn't mean it. Don't desire food from a selfish man because he's selfish, and you're gonna mess everything up. Don't desire wealth because wealth leaves. The food leaves, the wealth leaves. See, you can kind of put these together. But then verse 9, do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. You could say, well, if I speak in the wisdom of a fool, it's like eating the meat of a selfish man. I might vomit my words up later. I mean, for he's going to despise my wisdom. You could say that. But it's not talking about wealth or food, it's talking about wisdom. Well, is wisdom like riches? Wisdom is in places talked about as riches, right? I think, though, that verse 9 is a different subject. But we can see if we look at, like we did up here, these three sections, verses 1, 2, and 3, verses 4 and 5, verses 6, 7, and 8, we can draw out, we can take out of them, we can discover very basic principles, very surface level lessons. Don't go after something that's going to go away. Food, riches, for different reasons, it'll go away. One reason is because, well, the guy's selfish. He doesn't really mean it. One reason is because, oh, you might vomit, you might get rid of the thing, and then the thing's going to go away. And then what good is it? Right here, don't give another person wisdom. They're going to despise it, right? And hey, don't you be a fool. If somebody gives you wisdom, don't despise it. Verse 10, we can see is very different. Do not move the ancient boundary or go into the fields of the fatherless. Ancient boundaries, they had stones. You move them. Oh, I got more land now because that land is not mine. For there, the fatherless, their Redeemer is strong. He, the Redeemer, will plead his case against you. That's a little bit different from food. Well, hey, what are you trying to do if you're going to go to an ancient boundary place and you're going to if you're going to go to someone's land, your land, and you're going to move the boundary marker to where you have more land, you're trying to get riches and wealth. You're trying to get more food, but it's deceptive food. You will waste your compliments. Why? You try to get more land. They're the fatherless, the Redeemer is strong. He will plead their case against you. You're going to lose it. You're going to go to court. They're going to say, hey, this is ours. And you're going to lose it. It's going to fly off to the heavens. But different subject. Is it different? General principles over several subjects: eating with the ruler, desiring wealth, eating the food of a selfish man, um, giving fools wisdom, moving the boundary to you're trying to get something and it goes away. Or in the case of the fools, you try to give them something and your wisdom goes away. It's almost like you're in the reverse. You are the ruler trying to give somebody who doesn't appreciate food some food. Then you watch them, you're a selfish man, you give them stuff and they eat it. You're not selfish. You're like, I'm trying to be nice to you. Well, then they eat it all and they vomit it up. And you go, oh, I gave that to you for no reason. General principles, when you can get to particulars and we could say, no, this doesn't mean this. No, this doesn't mean that. The overall lessons we can learn from the book of Proverbs. Pretty neat. Verse 12, apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. That's good. Mm-hmm. Don't hold back discipline from the child, and though you strike him with the rod, he's not going to die. You shall strike him with the rod and rescue his soul from Sheol. This is a little different, even. The Proverbs do that. They change. They change up. They just change on a whim, it seems. Sometimes there's one verse by itself. Or where was it at? Right here, verse 9. Sometimes there's two verses, verse 10 and 11. Sometimes there's 3, 12, 13, and 14 about disciplining your kid. Sometimes there's verses that, verse 1, 2, and 3, and then verses 5, 6, 7, and 8. Some of y'all are going, but no, BJ, those are the same. Well, then what about verse 3 and 4 about wealth? Just kind of all mixed up. And all of this we started with, what did we start with? Verse 4. Remember, way back here, Go back one more. We went down to the NASB. Oh, no, no. That's 21 1, 23 1, 23 2, 23 3. We're almost there. 23 4. We go down. We all started. Is it still here? Stop dwelling on it. 23 5. All right, all right, all right. We started with reading one of the random versions, one verse. Then we read it in another version and we were like, wait a minute, there's italics. I wonder what that means. So then we looked at the verse before and went, oh, that's probably what it's talking about. Then we looked at the few verses before. Then we looked at more verses before and after. You can learn a lot. You just keep digging, right? Then go back, like I just did, and review what you talked about. Review what you started with and where you went from there. Yeah, that's a good way to keep it fresh in your mind, because we will we will we'll start talking about one thing, we'll then go to a different thing, and then a different thing, and then a different. By that time, we've forgotten the first thing altogether. It's gone. Poof, disappears. We're never going to remember it again unless it was something really serious. Like if we talked about six different things and number two and number five were like super interesting to us, those are the things we'll remember. That's it. But if we go back and we review later, when you come back and read the Proverbs again, you'll remember. Yeah, let's hope, right? This might be familiar to you. All right, guys. This went a lot longer than I thought, and we will see y'all in the next very basic Bible.